today we're covering the Logi desk booking solution. So, what's key is that with Logitech, it's all about choice, right? So we want to make sure that if you standardize on Zoom, we have a solution. If you standardize on Teams, we have a solution for you, and Google and many of our other partners. But we also, really saw a need that customers also wanted to look at what other options are available. And we're excited to enter this space as another option to consider. So today we're really going to showcase kind of what Logitech can bring to the table when it comes to desk booking. But I think it's important for our audience, for everyone who is joining today that may have not seen the session with Will, is to kind of walk you through the current problems and what are we trying to solve, right? We're all about bringing solutions that solve problems, that simplify things, that enable and enhance collaboration. And our Logitech Flex is, again, another great innovation that's going to disrupt this market and simplify things. And it's gotten, it's going to actually really not just wow the end user, but also IT. They're going to absolutely love it from the data analytics. So we're going to dive a little bit more into data today as well. But we're also going to walk you a little bit through kind of an end user experience. So what are some of these challenges that we have in the workspace? Well, one is, lack of insights, right? When you have these flex spaces and you just put in a dock, there is no way for IT to really see if that dock is still functional, right? At the end of the day, it's just a docking station connected to a monitor. So how do we, make sure that these spaces are actually up and running and remain running? And if they're not functioning, how can we make sure that IT is at the forefront of avoiding desks from being offline, right? So, and then there's, we'll dive into it a lot more. Having the actual visibility of when the office is very busy, when it's, not so busy, when you plan events, all of that is really, the data that, quite frankly, everyone is looking for nowadays so they can better plan their spaces. Do we need more workspaces or less, and so forth, right? So again, insights, telemetry, the social networking. This is the other part that I absolutely love what our team has done with the app. And I'm going to demo this to you. So instead of just speaking to it in a slide, stay tuned for that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a more demo environment. But what is Logitech Flex? Well, as you can see, of course, it is a dock, but it's a lot more than just a dock, right? It is really a docking station that is specifically designed for the workspace, And if you kind of look at our Logi dock, which is really a personal workspace solution, it has speakers, it doesn't have a touch screen, but it has meeting controls, of course. This is really kind of blending kind of a room scheduler, right? So you got that touch panel and then a docking station. And then we've put in an entire operating system in there. So that way you can have all kinds of great experiences, like putting in a message when you may decide to disconnect your laptop and you're off to a meeting and so forth. And actually having a one-touch join, just like we have in meeting spaces, we can actually offer that with Logitech Flex as well. So it's a docking station, with really the desk booking at the forefront. So I just want to kind of clarify that for our audience today. And again, today we are really focusing on our solution, but I do just want to re-emphasize, and again, we've done, Will did a great session on Zoom. Today I'm going to cover Logitech's version of desk booking, but it's all about choice, right? And that's something that it's not a separate SKU. So just want to clarify, it's not like you have to purchase a Logitech Flex for Logitech for Zoom or for Teams. You can actually just configure that on the device and even reset it. So maybe a year from now, you want to change to a different platform, not a problem. It's no different than our Rally Bar Mini, for example, or Huddle. And of course, for all the geeks out there, okay, of course you want to see, well, it's a dock, great. Well, what does it have? Well, it has a tremendous amount of ports. The great thing about this, unlike most docks where an end user can just unplug things either deliberately or accidentally, both happen all the time. this is entirely secured. It even comes with this beautiful little screwdriver that you can really, we're very passionate about cable management. We put that in all our solutions, including the tab that you see on the table here and site. And this is, key to make sure that these devices remain connected, right? So I want to make sure that, we remove the human being from the, the errors that can occur, right? And one is cable management. So as you can see, it can support dual screens, and has Ethernet, multiple USB connections as well, even a Kensington lock slot for security. And I'm doing a quick time check, and I think what we really need to do is really get into more of the demo so we can really start showcasing kind of what this is all about. So what I think we're going to start with first, we're going to actually book a space, and I'm going to kind of walk you through that. So I'm going to actually share my screen twice. I first want to share my entire desktop for a second. I'm going to go ahead and then minimize the zoom. So this is, I'm glad I cleaned up a little bit of my desktop. But I want to just clarify here for a second is the app, which we call Logi Tune, it lives on my phone. So I can book the desk on the train, on the plane, wherever I'm about. If I know I'm going to be in the office, I can book that right from my phone. Now, what we've recently done with the latest update, I can also do this from my laptop. So on a Windows or Mac machine, right? And how cool is that? I can actually see who's in the office. So tying a little bit into that social piece, right? I can see that, again, shout out to Zachary here from IT, who have been really put to work yesterday and today. So we can't thank him enough for the IT support. So I can actually see the occupancy. Today's a bit of a light day because we have a Logi Thanks coming. So everyone's off on Friday and Monday. So you can already see that some other people decided to make this an even longer break. And so with that, it's great for us because we can actually demo an area in our office because we want to not just show the app, we want to show the end-to-end experience. Coming back to that social part, so you can see this is my Logi Tune app. And real quick, right, it also allows me to manage my devices. Right now, I'm not connected to my work from home station, right? And you would see a lot more devices. But right now I have my MX Anywhere on the go here. And I have my headset that I'll be using here in a second. And this is a great way for me, of course, to manage my peripherals, which I may do on my phone when I'm on the go. I might change the equalizer on my headset, for example, or change the noise cancellation and so forth. So it's one app that is really focused for the end user. And then, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but what's great is that for IT, this app can communicate to our remote management platform called Sync. So IT can help manage firmware releases. And then, of course, all the, the data analytics that we're going to cover in a little bit on Logitech Flex. So coming back to the home screen, as you can see right now, the calendar is set to the 27th. If I want to book something on the 28th or the 29th, I can do so. You can also see these are my meetings that I have this scheduled for today, as you can see. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just walk you through booking a desk. So I'm going to click book a desk. And again, this is the same experience on the cell phone. I can book it near a teammate. So I can, decide I'm going to book right beside Conrad or Zach, or maybe I just want to, look at specific everyone in the organization. Or what I can do is if I go back, I'm just going to click book a desk and I'm going to book by location. So maybe if I travel to Cork, Ireland, hopefully one day, we have an office there as well, I can actually select that site as well. So our entire organization is rolled into this. So this is the other thing I wanted to share with the audience here. We have entirely converted our entire SVC campus here in San Jose to workspaces with Flex desks. So they are all facilitated by facilities with Logitech Flex solutions, and anyone can basically book a space anywhere. And what you can see here's a little map here. And in this scenario, I can actually zoom in and zoom out, and I can book a specific space from the map. I can also look at lists. So maybe I want to be in a specific area. So as you can see, we have different spaces here under beaches, for instance, and I want to specifically maybe book a specific desk. I'm going to book desk 345. I'm going to go ahead and book it. Now, I didn't click on desk details. I skipped over that. But really quickly, what desk details could potentially show you, it will give you information on what's at that workspace. So for instance, we have some workspaces here that have a MX Keys Mini and an MX3 Anywhere S. So it has a keyboard, it has a mouse. Now, some people may be germaphobes. Some people just like their own. I like my MX mechanical keyboard. I actually throw that in my backpack half the time. And I may want to book a desk that doesn't have a keyboard or mouse. So all of that is kind of covered in the details as well. Now, what you see here as well is I can, now that I've booked desk 345, I can actually notify. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm sharing my entire screen. And my apologies, I'm going to make it a little bit better for the audience. There we go. Focus on the actual app. Sorry, I clearly need another cup of coffee. So what I created is I created teams. So I have my SE teams, and many of them are joining the call today. But I'm also part of the distribution team, as I'm an SE for our distributor. So what this helps me is kind of break out the teams, because I may want to notify specific, people. In this scenario, I can notify the entire SE team, or I can just, notify Dan here and Nick, who are on the call here, and Will. So into the office. Right, so it adds that little social aspect. And now I've booked the space, but right now, Will and Dan and Nick, they get a notification. Hey, Pike just reserved the space today. And then they actually get my message as well to figure out whose turn is it to buy lunch, or if we're staying later, whose turn is it to buy beers, right? So you can see on the app, I have now booked desk 345, and you can see there's the workstation. That's the time that it's booked for. And then I can always go back to the details and I can edit the booking, because perhaps, my wife has called me and like, I'm sure you need to pick up our daughter at 3. So I'm only gonna be in the office, well, maybe 2:30 or 4, right? So I can modify that booking. I can shorten it or I can extend it. So as you can see right here, so here's the reserved space. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, because I'm going to actually bring you over to that workspace. But before I do so, I'm going to temporarily mute myself here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my headset. And if there's any questions we want to take in the meantime, we can. We transition. We're good on chat. Okay.
So far, so good.
Hey, Pike, I booked the desk right next to you, but I'll be there in about 5 hours, okay?
Now, of course, usually we demo this more in an environment where there's a little less glare. So, of course, not ideal condition for a camera, but just bear with me for a second. So I'm just going to go ahead here and get it to focus. There we go. So you can see here, the desk right now is, I'm going to just change it a little bit. There we go. So you get a little bit of a better viewing angle. So you can see also, if I bring my keyboard and mouse, I can just put the dongle here in the front if I decide to use a dongle, or if it's paired. And there's 2 USB-C connectors as well. So it allows me to maybe easily charge my phone, as you can see here. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I can, of course, check in by clicking the check-in button, and maybe I'm on my way to a meeting, right? So there's really 3 different ways that you can leverage the desk booking. What I'm going to show you here is I'm going to first actually grab my cell phone, and I'm going to show you how I can actually check in without even connecting my laptop. So right here, I have my phone. So all I need to do is, when you click check in, for instance, and maybe I'm on my way to a meeting, right? So it's actually, if you're new, what I quickly wanted to show, it actually shows to grab the actual app. And then from the app, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Logi Tune app. So you can see the details. And in this scenario, I'm actually going to bypass that because it already checked me in by my laptop. So you can see here, and we'll go through an ad hoc session here in a second. But what I'm going to show here is, here's my laptop. It's waiting for me to check in. I'm going to go ahead and connect this for a second. And now, because I have the Logi Tune app on my laptop, it's going to automatically check me in this workspace. So you could see I'm checked in, and I'm just going to, I'll show the monitor. So you can see my monitor is working, right? I can actually drag things around. But what I wanted to first show before I zoom out is my meetings are also now showing up. So you could see I have the one-touch join. I'm going to go ahead and see if I could change the glare a little bit for the focus. Again, we're dealing with screens here, so bear with me for a second. But what you could see here, I have my one-touch join button. And then, of course, I have a background. And then eventually, you actually have the ability to personalize the background. So it just adds a bit more of a personal touch, because maybe I want to have pictures of my family or my favorite pet or car, or, you know, whatever your hobbies are, post stamps, right? So this is, you know, again, one connection. I'm getting a full charge. I am now, you know, completely connected. And as you can see, I can now decide in this workspace. So I'm just, we're going to go ahead and just put it in standard for a second, just to give you a better overall view, right? I can either decide to have two screens, or, you know, maybe I just want a single screen, and I can just, you know, use this beautiful widescreen monitor, right? So another thing I wanted to just quickly showcase is, you know, we've all been in a situation that, you know, we may know, you know, Nick, let's pick a Nick knows that I'm at desk 345. So he's just, you know, looking for me, and he just wants to share, you know, maybe a fun story, or he's got this great new suggestion to work more efficient, right? So he runs over to my desk, but I'm not here. So here's the cool thing. If I'm in a meeting or I'm having lunch, and, you know, as you can see, I'm disconnected. As soon as I reconnect, it, you know, checks me back in, and I can, you know, get back to my emails, and you can see I got both screens right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the camera view here, and we'll just set it to standard. So there's one more demo I wanted to show you. So what if I, you know, didn't plan to go to the office, right? But I just ended up changing my schedule. I decided to go into the office because I'm going to meet a partner, but I'm going to do a couple emails first, right? I'm going back-to-back meetings. I just get to the office quickly, didn't get a chance to book a desk. I just walk to a space that is available without reserving it. And because I have the Logi Tune app, so without interacting really with it, because I have the Logi Tune app, you could see here, now I'm not sure if this monitor, because we connected this, the monitor is disconnected because we're using power here. But what you'll see here is that I'm checked in again. I'm checked into this workspace. And it's, you know, it's, again, once I disconnect, I can end the session, or I can start, you know, leave a message. So you really have three different ways of booking, right? You can reserve ahead of time. You can walk up to a space ad hoc, or if we look at this space here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here and show you this last demo here. What I'm going to do now is just basically grab my camera. You can see there's a QR code. Here's another way that I can basically book the space ad hoc. So I just basically used my cell phone. There we go. And now it's booked. So this is another great way. I can just walk up to a desk, book it. And then I may decide, you know, to run off to my my next meeting first. So it's just a great way of having different options and really simplify it. And it really also depends on the user. And you'll see there's different user behavior. And that's what we're going to actually get into now. So I'm going to go ahead and walk back to our meeting room.
So how do you usually use the QR code when you come in?
I do,
Yeah.
and I love it
You're
because
not a plan aheader.
yeah, because you never know your schedule, and I just really like to see our team, and some days are super busy, so it's really nice to see colleagues sit in one area and we can schedule, meetings or lunch.
As you can see, we don't really over rehearse these sessions. But I'm glad you guys got to see that experience. Yeah, a little bit of an audio hiccup, but we pulled through. So now we're going to transition to basically showing kind of the data analytics. I'm going to go ahead and rejoin here.
Actually, I think the data is some of the coolest part, especially for different like HR or facilities and.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's and it's also fun to see the difference in user behavior and such. I was kind of poking around it yesterday a little bit, and there's people that just they like a certain area, and that's where they sit. I tend to move around a bit. Like we have, for instance, our alliance teams for Zoom and Microsoft. So I like to interact with that team. They're not part of our sales organization, a part of our business group, but it's a great way to, get to know these team members a little bit more. And then there is, a lot of people that on the other side, they tend to sit on another section and they're more in a personal workspace solution. So, again, it's people's choice. That's the beauty, right? You're not, if you want to be stationary, if you always want to be at desk 345, you can book it ahead of time and make sure no one else gets it. Or I've seen other people that they just chance it and they're always just not reserving. They're just connecting and they're working from that same area. So it's, again, not putting people in a box, simplifying, the solution and showing really 3 easy ways to book it. So real quick for the audience, what you see here, this is our Logi Sync portal, right? So Sync is available for free for any of our customers and partners. It's multi-tenant for our partners, and you can manage your meeting spaces. But today what we're showing is how you can, and I'm just going to collapse the menu here. So you have your meeting rooms that you can manage, and then you have your flex desks that you can manage, and then also personal devices. Again, not enough time to cover all these different areas. There's also Sync Plus, which gives you data analytics, which comes with insights. And that is something we're going to cover here as well quickly. I want to show you here. So I've selected our site in San Jose. So it gives me a live view of the healthy status. So 93% of the desks are up. But I thought it was kind of also nice to kind of show you, right? That monitor, for instance, was disconnected from power, right? So things do happen. As again, I was kind of messing with the space for this event. So it's important to kind of show, that we also can actually outline to IT the desks with issues. And they can do that by a specific site, or they can even do that for all sites. So this is Logitech from a global perspective, or I can jump into our Camus office. So this dashboard is very powerful as it gives you a good snapshot of, the kind of health status of these desks, which ones have issues. Now you can also snooze a desk in case you're doing renovations, facilities is changing a certain space. IT is not going to get all the notifications. And then you get a good view of the actual usage of these different desks. So I want to really dive into this a little bit more. So we're going to quickly give you that summary so you can see here's a desk where the Brio 505 was disconnected. Now we can't go too much into the details because we've got way too many cool things to show you. So I'm just going to show this high level and we'll see how we're doing from time. But you can see it's not just necessarily the camera, it could also be a keyboard, right? If it's a wired keyboard or with a dongle. So there's a lot that's being monitored, and technically you can also look at what has been snoozed. So that's the issue section. Then there's, of course, the inventory. So IT can have a look at the entire organization or a specific site, how many they have online, which ones require an update. As you can see, I can go into a specific workstation, right? We were like looking at desk 340 and 345, I believe, here. So there we go. So you can see that is the actual workspace. It's also scheduled for a reboot, right? It shows that this workspace has a Brio 305 connected. So a lot of configurations, but I think we need to spend some time on the data analytics. That's where the real gold is, right? And you can really dive into the data analytics of, in this case, we're going to look at the site. So you can see the weekly pattern, right? So you can see Wednesdays are our busiest days, because I know some teams, have great team lunches, which I like to join myself as well. That's another great reason to come to the office. And when it comes to the actual data analytics, you can really dive into, well, which desks, which areas are more popular. Maybe there's an area that is not very popular because maybe it's too cold in that part of the building, or too hot, or maybe it's too noisy or too quiet. We actually created a workspace area for desks that have no webcams. That's the quiet area. And then we have our normal workspace where you can take meetings, right? So it just helps facilities to really plan that out. And so I can actually also jump into a specific desk. So I'm gonna, pick here on one colleague, see if I can see his desk here. So I'm gonna actually filter for a second, and I'm gonna just look at walk-in, right? So now it's really showing the popularity of what are the walk-in stations that are most popular. And I can do the same thing with reserve. I think because we are kind of getting into a time crunch, I'm gonna just go ahead and showcase desk here. Desk, let's see, let's go to beaches. There we go. And we're gonna look at walk-ins as well. So you can see it even on the map, it could actually show you a heat map of which desks are the most popular. So this gives you another visibility of, how often was this space used? How long are those sessions, right? What's the total usage of that space? So you can really dive in a lot deeper into these spaces, and I can go in individual desks. So I can see, the green, if you look at the legend, shows you when it was reserved. The blue is just what I just showed, right? I'm in a hurry. I didn't book a space. I'm just connecting my laptop, and I'm just doing an ad hoc session. So we can really break down these sessions, and we can actually see who booked the space. So you can see Andrew really likes this desk. The last 2 weeks, he's been booking that desk. So you can see there's a lot of analytics there, and diving into that, you see some desks when I was looking at it last night that are booked by like 5-10 different people within the last 2 weeks. And then there's a desk that just gets booked by the same person. So I want to make sure we're conscious of time.
Yeah, there was a
where we're at.
question regarding hoteling. Can we set some of them up for hoteling? Is that meaning like the same person's there all the time?
So
That's new to me.
we unfortunately didn't have enough time to really go into the system, but IT can allocate certain spaces to certain groups. So I think this begs for an entire session that we can just probably dedicate to really diving into this a little bit more deep. But yes, you can actually make sure that certain users, maybe finance, can only book this specific area,
Oh,
right?
That's cool.
We're also working on extending the amount, how long you can reserve a space for. So maybe you can reserve it for a week. So there's, again, a lot more to come. But yeah, it's definitely the users, and we can say, sorry, did you
Sorry,
want to-
I was
yeah,
just gonna
please
say,
chime in.
there's exactly that. There was a question regarding that. Is there limits on the amount of days you can book a desk?
Yeah, so right now, I want to make sure I answer this question correctly, because I think that is changing. So if you can capture that person's email, I'm going to make sure that I'll reach out to the product owner and make sure what we support now and what we're working on from a booking time slot. So, but you can book days ahead. You can, but from what I've seen, and I got to double check if that's in the latest, you can book ahead, but I don't think we've launched the fact that you can actually book an entire week, for instance. But great feedback, and we'll circle back with that person as well. So yeah, again, great questions. Unfortunately, we are slowly running out of time, so I want to make sure we
I think we are. Do you want to stop sharing
Yeah.
for a second? Is there any other questions before we wrap it up here? Thank you, Pike. That was a good one.